Thank you so much, Dr. Sinis. First, welcome. I am honored that you have chosen to spend the next roughly 50 minutes with me together. I want to acknowledge that we come from diverse abilities. So, to enable everybody who is present here, I'm just going to set the stage a moment. I am a woman towards her later 40s. I have an asymmetrical haircut. I am wearing my reading glasses, and I have around my neck a scarf that is called Breath of Life. It's by Saskatchewan artist, Métis artist, Leah Dorian. On the background in my screen is a picture that a dear seminary friend took of me overlooking the Halifax harbor with a sailboat navigating the winds. I acknowledge that I am presenting on the land of Treaty Number 29 of the Anishinaabe people. May we live with respect on this land in peace and friendship with its people. May it be so. Whether you are in person today or online, would you please raise your hand if you have ever had an experience that did not go according to plan? Yeah, that's what I figured, about 100%. Thank you. You can lower your hand now. Whether you serve in ministry or not, we can all relate to an experience when things did not go according to plan. Whether it was something going awry in a carefully planned wedding ceremony, I can attest to this, or a beautifully curated dish that burned on the night you were expecting guests, getting stuck in traffic on your way to a special event, or a thoughtfully laid out birth plan that had not included needing a cesarean section. Maybe a job being terminated, or the loss of relationship due to breakup or death. These experiences and others draw upon our ability to be resilient. They require a level of buoyancy and flexibility in the face of the unexpected. To understand why I chose the topic of resiliency in pastoral ministry, it does help for you to know where I've come from and who walks with me through life. During my seminary journey, I have been asked how I balance family, school, and church. First, it is the Spirit of God that sustains me. Second, it is my family. They are the secret sauce. My husband, Mark, is a Presbyterian minister, and Mark has a knack for getting me to laugh, make sure we are fed and watered daily, and is always up for a theological discussion or debate. Sam and Serene are incredible young theologians, though they would say, "Ah, Mom." I loved watching them as little ones discover the world. But it's even more fun as teenagers who want to understand the world. Don't get me wrong, that teenage attitude is a real thing. But their questions and musings are brilliant and challenging. Plus, they remind me when it's time to take a break, and we watch an episode of Big Bang Theory together. There are family, friends, faculty, mentors, and supervisors to honor, but time is limited, so I hold them in my heart. Then there's the community of faith, St. Paul's United Church in Milverton, Ontario, where I have been serving as the solo full-time student minister since January 2020. St. Paul's has a rich history of raising ministers for the United Church of Canada, and I'm grateful for their support and willing spirit to join in the learning journey. Two pivotal encounters steered me to research resiliency in pastoral ministry. The first happened in 2023, and with her permission to share, Lori Pline, a parishioner at St. Paul's, experienced burnout at the end of COVID, working as a nutrition manager in long-term care. On her journey to recovery, Lori was asked to share with her colleagues what she learned and the resources she discovered at their National Conference for Nutrition Managers, which was held in Halifax that year. Lori and I walked her healing journey together. She asked if I would be willing to listen to her presentation. I did, and it was brilliant. She has been able to speak in various settings as the knowledge and wisdom she gained crosses disciplines. Before I share what Lori taught me, it's also important for you to know that I am the third of four daughters to Dutch immigrant parents, raised in my formative years in the Christian Reformed Church of North America. Being raised with a strong Protestant Reformed work ethic meant I live by the motto, why give 100% when 120% will do? This is where Lori's presentation crystallized a new realization for me. When Lori shared the 12 stages of burnout, stage 1 says you feel there is a strong need to prove yourself. And stage 2, you keep working harder and harder to achieve this. This is the start of burnout? This hit me like a ton of bricks. I understood these aspects of myself as passion and drive, but put in this light, unchecked, I understood it can be the starting point of burnout. Then came the second pivotal moment. My father-in-law, the Reverend John Fraser, died 5 months ago from pancreatic cancer. My in-laws live in New Brunswick and we reside in Ontario. In between surgeries and treatment, we talked on the phone. Dad had been a cheerleader for me throughout my seminary journey. During one of these conversations, Dad shared openly and vulnerably that he recognized for him being a Christian meant being a minister, and being a minister meant being a Christian. He did not know how to separate the two. He loved the Lord and he loved the church. Towards the latter part of his time in ministry, he experienced a breakdown in light of his inability to take the stole off at times and just be. He encouraged Mark and I to learn to do it differently. So, Dad, here I am, learning to do it differently. This is how I arrived at today's research question. What factors contribute to resiliency in pastoral ministry? For this qualitative study, I employed the grounded theory method. Cresswell and Poth state that research based on grounded theory is not just confirming existing theories, but seeks to build new ones grounded in the lived experiences of research participants. Before discussing the findings, it's helpful to understand what resilience is. Kaplan, Turner, Norman, and Stilson say resilience is the capacity to maintain competent functioning in the face of major life stressors. Chowdhury says resilience is a muscle. Flex it enough, and it will take less effort to get over the emotional punches each time. One participant in my research defined it as you've got to have a thick skin, but not an impermeable one. Using grounded theory methodology, I interviewed 11 participants from 3 denominations. The response to my ad seeking participants was strong. More people expressed interest to participate than was feasible, given the timeline of the graduate project. This either speaks to the need for more work to be done in pastoral resilience, or there is much wisdom to be gleaned from retired and active pastoral leaders. Interviews were conducted using Zoom. Each one was an hour or more in length. The denominations represented were United Church of Canada, Presbyterian Church of Canada, and the Christian Reformed Church of North America. The number of years that participants served in ministry were 55% are retired or semi-retired, 27% have served for 20 plus years, and 18% have served for 5 years or less. After transcribing the interviews, each was labeled to look for common themes. 4 themes emerged, which point to factors that contribute to resiliency in pastoral ministry. The emergent themes are self-care, an ongoing sense of call, reframing the narrative, and humility. To be able to address the first theme of self-care means one has to be aware of their needs, body, mind, and soul. As part of my literature review, I read a book entitled 7.5 Lessons About the Brain by Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. She is a renowned scientist for her revolutionary research in psychology and neuroscience. Dr. Feldman Barrett stressed the understanding that the brain's primary function is to monitor and keep our body in allostasis, or what she terms body budgeting. The brain's job is to predict and prepare to meet the body's needs before they arise. The brain is constantly assessing our body's resources like water, oxygen, and glucose for each situation we encounter to keep it in balance. It is okay to experience withdrawals from our body budget as long as they are renewed in a timely manner. What the body budget dislikes the most is surprises. They make the biggest withdrawals and can create deficits. Pastoral ministry by nature is a vocation full of surprises. In the Ministry in Action program here at AST, the Reverend Canon Dr. Jody Clark said, "Ministry is what happens between what we planned." It was this idea that inspired my title of today's presentation. Margaret Clark, in the Clergy Resilience Model studying Canadian clergy, points to the fact that pastoral leaders will encounter similar experiences of other helping professions, such as teachers, counselors, social workers, as well as those on the front line, such as police officers, firefighters, and emergency support workers. It is a complex calling that will expose one to the unexpected and continually withdraw from the body budget. The experience of stepping into another individual's needs due to trauma, medical crisis, or palliative care is what Hendren, Irving, and Taylor call the unseen cost of secondary or vicarious traumatization that clergy experience repeatedly. Bearing witness to the impact of human tragedy in the lives of others can take a toll, and it can alter one's cognitive, behavioral, emotional, spiritual, physical, and interpersonal dimension. Future research should look into the impact a trauma-informed approach to theological education and formation has in developing resilient pastoral leaders. In the Gospel of Mark, chapter 5, verses 28 to 30, we read the account of the woman who had been bleeding for 12 years. She thought, "If I just touch his clothes, I will be healed." Immediately, her bleeding stopped and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. At once, Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, "Who touched my clothes?" Christ not only knew intellectually the cost of pastoral care, but felt it physically too. Are pastoral care providers in tune with that which goes out from them and needs to be replenished? Jesus set the example of how to renew the body budget. In Mark chapter 1:35, we read, "Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed." There are many accounts of Jesus going up to the mountain and hillside to spend time apart. Jesus knew the importance of withdrawing to regulate his energy. Labeling the interviews of my research participants revealed regular practices of self-care that deposit back into the body budget of a pastoral leader's body, mind, and soul, and relationship with God. These include spiritual care. Participants outlined the importance of regular, scheduled interaction with either a spiritual director, therapist, ministerial group, or a peer group. Having people who can hold up the mirror and keep one accountable to balance ministerial needs, to process pastoral encounters, while upholding self-care and personal spiritual growth. Using spiritual practices such as praying the Examen, reciting memory verses, or praying while walking were some of the ways that grounded participants spiritually. After the first few years in ministry, a participant noted they had a preaching rhythm. After preaching 8 times, they recognized a need to do pulpit exchange. This was one way of pouring back into their preaching budget. For another participant who had served for 20 plus years, they developed over time a ministry rhythm built on the seasons of the year. Each season of the year, they schedule a week of continuing education. Along with other practices, this keeps their ministry rhythm steady. Many participants cited the importance of keeping Sabbath. For some, Monday works best, for others, Friday. But depending on the season of the church year, keeping that day flexible can be helpful too. While prioritizing, it does happen. Others commented on the gift of sabbatical, which contributes to long-term resilience. A participant shared, "One of my pet peeves are clergy who are bragging, 'I haven't had a day off in the last month.' For me, that sends off alarm bells. I say, well, okay, if you haven't had a day off in the last month, then you're soon going to be off for a lot longer than one day." This participant points to the reality that if the body budget is continually withdrawn from, it will run a deficit that eventually cannot be repaid, leaving one bankrupt. Health and wellness was also cited by several participants. Staying attentive to what Maslow in the hierarchy of needs calls the basic needs of life to remain resilient. These include healthy eating, sleep, and exercise. One participant noted the healing work of God in nature, and another said, "I have to recognize when I'm getting burnt out in ministry, it's often because I have set myself aside too much." Lastly, hobbies. Having activities that take one outside of the demands of ministry, whether reading, dancing, singing, woodworking, and many others, these too contribute to resilience. Interestingly, only 2 participants named the importance of the next subtheme for self-care, which is self-differentiation. The ability to self-differentiate is what my father-in-law was trying to name when sharing the pitfall of his lived experience. Intrigued, I asked if they could elaborate. The first participant referenced vintage LPs. They said, "Once in a while, you have to lift off the needle. I'm first of all a child of God who happens to be called to be a minister. Friendships are really important for resiliency because it reminds you that you are not just the minister, you're a human being." Another said, "We take on the mantle of this leadership, and the risk or the danger is we don't know how to set it down. Having friends outside of church, outside the congregational context, has been essential in terms of vocational affirmation and clarity. Remembering who I am, a place that nourishes that value of being human." Both these participants pointed to friendship as instrumental in the ability to self-differentiate. Other participants also noted the importance of friendship in and outside the church context. One participant pointed to the importance of attending to not only our relationship with God, with others, but also ourself. The practice of self-care is one contributing factor to resiliency in pastoral ministry, as is the next theme, having an ongoing sense of call. Clark's research on the clergy resilience model outlines tools and traits that contribute to resiliency, and of note is reconnecting to the sense of call into ministry. This was reinforced by participants in my research. One participant said, "Those moments that affirm your call, when you see a light bulb go on for someone, it's important to have those memories and to keep them alive. Those little jewels, you put them in your jewelry box and you open that lid once in a while to look at them." Another said, "I always think of it as not one moment of call, but the call is ongoing throughout one's ministry." Another posited, life and ministry will always force you to compete with your life. We don't clock in and out. And so we are in this vocation more than we are in a career. Just live the church. Those are the moments where we find our call. Having people and experiences that can affirm one's call is essential. Equally important is the ability to decipher the call to leave a community of faith in order to remain resilient. One participant shared, "My philosophy of ministry is a lot like Kenny Rogers' The Gambler song. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em. What nail piercings can you handle and which ones you can't? Because I guarantee if you don't, you're going to crucify a lot more people in your congregation than you ever want to." Another highlighted the other really essential piece for resiliency was recognizing early on how easy my own trauma also shaped what I thought I should be doing. Knowing when it is actually time to turn away and to be like, I've had enough. In addition to the ability to leave a call, is also accepting others will need to leave too. After a difficult encounter with a parishioner who ended up leaving their community of faith, a participant revealed, "I learned the term blessed subtraction because sometimes some people just really need to worship somewhere else." The Clergy Coaching Network says resiliency for pastoral leaders isn't about being tougher or pretending things don't hurt. It's about learning how to care for your soul while you keep doing work that asks a lot from you. Dr. Lucy Hone, who holds a PhD in resilient studies in New Zealand, points to three traits of resilient people. First, they accept tough times will happen. Second, they don't diminish the negative, but focus on the things they can change. And third, accept that which they cannot change. This participant understood this truth, joining the negative to the positive with the phrase blessed subtraction. These experiences expose another question for future research. There is a lot of talk about answering a call to come. Is there equal discussion in ministry about the importance of discerning the call to go? This leads to the next emergent theme, rewriting the ministry narrative. In a participant's second call, which lasted 8 years, they categorized it as 6 years of conflict and 2 years of ministry. Recognizing they were experiencing signs of burnout in their next call, they enrolled in a course where they learned that rewriting their ministry narrative could contribute to their overall resilience in ministry. Shifting their language to say it was 8 years of ministry with 6 years of conflict. This helped them reframe that experience to see there were positives. At the next charge, they served for 10 years. And towards the end, a few powerful players in the congregation approached them, encouraging them to consider taking a call elsewhere. Wounded and feeling defeated, the participant called the psychologist they had been working with to do a ministry assessment to instruct them to stop the process. The participant said, "I think I'm done. I mean, this is 18 years of ministry, and what's there to show for it? I think I'm done." And the psychologist responded, "No, you're not done. You have the gifts of ministry. You're just not welcome there." Once again, the ability to reframe their ministry narrative affirmed this participant's call. The very skills that were not welcome in one place were embraced in the charge they have now been serving for 15 plus years. Another participant shared, "In ministry, we do experience different forms of crucifixion. There are places of us that do get killed in ministry, and the big part of it is actually looking to the Easter story, recognizing that there's a crucifixion, recognizing that there's a day of rest, and recognizing there is a resurrection." The final theme that emerged from my research is that through all the highs and lows of this odd and wondrous calling, interviewees learned the importance of embodying a sense of humility, which has contributed to the ability to remain resilient in pastoral ministry. This brings to mind the words of 1 Corinthians 13. Love is patient, love is kind. It is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs, and it does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. In the words of my research participants who stepped forward to be interviewed, this humility grounded in love sounds like this in their own words. God's love will get me where I need to go. I don't bring God with me. God is already there. It's God's church, not mine. Using grounded theory method to conduct my research, it revealed factors that contribute to resiliency in pastoral ministry, which participants worked at with awareness and intention. These included self-care, an ongoing sense of call, reframing the narrative, and humility. So, what are the implications for those who are actively or preparing to serve in pastoral ministry? It is critical to find practices and rhythms which build resiliency, enabling body, mind, and soul to maintain allostasis in a vocation that is full of surprises, drawing continuously from the body budget. It would be impossible to employ all the practices shared today, but with intention and awareness, the goal is to find ones that work for the individual while maintaining an attitude of humility and curiosity. Dr. Feldman Barrett says in her work, my brain needs your brain for allostasis. If you've ever experienced, she says, a breakup or a death, and you say, it felt like a part of me died, you're right, because your brain needs mine and vice versa. The vocation of pastoral ministry is not done in a silo. Those who lead need to surround themselves with others who allow them to be human. The importance of the narrative spoken to the self and colleagues is imperative. Is it a competition of busyness or asking, tell me about the ministry you're involved in? Where do you see God and the Holy Spirit working? Are the conversations maintaining allostasis, a balance of negative and positive, challenges and celebrations? Are the conversations encouraging and, as Hebrews 10:24 says, spurring one another on? For me, the experience of listening and learning from retired, semi-retired, mid-vocation, and recently ordained ministers did just that. It was an invaluable gift that I take into the call to ordered ministry. I urge my fellow seminarians to consider doing the same, sitting down with a minimum of 5 ministers to glean from. For future consideration, it is worth looking at the impact that a trauma-informed theological education, rooted in 5 core values that Dr. Stevens from Lancaster Seminary outlines, include safety, trustworthiness, choice, collaboration, and empowerment in our academic institution and in our candidacy boards, and what impact that might have in forming resilient pastoral leaders. In addition, digging deeper into understanding how reframing the narrative contributes to long-term resiliency. And finally, researching the idea of blessed subtraction, expanding the understanding of not just the call to come, but also to go, and how that adds to resiliency. I want to express my deep appreciation to Atlantic School of Theology, its faculty, its staff, everyone involved. In particular, the Reverend Dr. David Sinnis, our instructor, who has seen us all the way through to today. I thank you. To my advisors, the Reverend Dr. Neil Parker and Dr. Wing Yi Wong, as they have heard me reference a time or two, there was a lot of spaghetti in my brain, and I thank them for their wisdom in letting me chat about it and sort it out. Finally, my thanks to my interview participants. Your lived experience and your willingness to share made us research partners in this project. And to all of you who have attended today, I thank you for your attention. So before we go on to the questions, I'd like to take just a moment to close in prayer. Holy and gracious God, I thank you for this time that was set apart to learn from each other and with each other. Help us to always endeavor to continue learning, Lord, that we might further the work of your kingdom. In your name we pray. Amen.